Welcome to episode 17 of the BlokeBusters podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Brian.
Today is May 22nd, 2013, and we will be talking about Iron Man 3, the latest in the whole Marvel...
Avenger world.
World, yeah. The third in the Iron Man trilogy, which might
Avengers
be...
2, you might call it.
Yeah, with just
one Avenger.
Yeah, a slight lack of Avengers in Avengers 2. Possibly the last Iron Man, even though at the end they say it won't be, but Robert Downey Jr.'s contract is up. So
I have no interest in seeing anyone else be Tony Stark, not in this lifetime.
I mean, there's some things where you can wait a few years and recast, like let's say Spider-Man, but yeah, I think Robert Downey Jr. owns Iron Man now.
Yeah, and yeah, just warning as always, I'm pretty sure we're going to be spoiling the shit out of this.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we will, if... Like all movies, see it first before you listen to this. Unless you just want the audiobook version, then you're fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, technically we did spoil before we said we were going to spoil, but it's only a spoiler of at the end of the credits. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, but was there something at the very end of the credits?
There was.
Oh, I did not stay. Well, I just waited until it went to black.
Right.
You know, they went through their Spider-Man 3 kind of credits.
Yeah.
You know, showing all three of the films, whatever.
Yeah.
And then once it went to the standard black credits, black background, white, I thought, okay, that's it. I'm not staying anymore. So there was a little something at the end.
There was.
Okay.
I may as well say it.
I'm not going back.
I actually didn't recognize who it was to begin with, and then myself and my wife rewatched the Avengers recently, and then realized, oh, that's who it is. At the very end, because the beginning of the film is Tony Stark saying, like, you know, wait, no, let me go back to the beginning. And then, I guess the whole idea of this film is he's telling someone this film. What happened is he's telling him. And then at the very end of the credits, you realize he's sitting in an office on a couch talking to Bruce Banner.
Oh.
And Bruce Banner's response is like, you know, yeah, I'm not really that kind of doctor. Like, what was that? Yeah, I don't really have.
That answers one of my problem questions I had.
And the way it comes in is Tony Stark finishes telling the story, and Bruce Banner's asleep. Just down, and he wakes up and it's like, you know, wait, where did you fell asleep? Yeah. Well, where did you fall asleep? He's like, New Year's Eve. Which, for anyone that hasn't seen the film, is the beginning of the film.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, well, I guess I'll catch that on Blu-ray or whatever.
Right, yeah. It's another one of those things where it's not really necessarily worth sitting through all the credits. It's just a fun little button in case you do.
Yeah.
Probably for the saddos that do sit through all the credits and watch everyone.
I normally try to, but yeah, it was a very nice afternoon and I wanted to get to the pool. So the movie's over, I'm done. Yeah, I was out of there.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah.
You've seen what you needed to see.
Exactly.
And then, did you see the Tony Stark will return then? I think it must have been just after the button goes to black and white lettering just says Tony Stark will return.
Oh. Well, I'm sure in Avengers or whatever.
Well, I actually heard a rumor that Robert Downey Jr. didn't want to be in Avengers 2.
Yeah, I did hear that, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah. And then I read an interview saying that they're talking to him about getting him back for 2 more films or something.
I don't know.
Because his contract is up now and blah, blah, blah. And you go, whatever. If he does do some more, fine. We'll just get to see Robert Downey Jr. being Iron Man again. If he doesn't, I guess that's it for Iron Man.
I'm good with it either way. So,
alright, well.
You want to get into some nuts and bolts?
Sure, nuts and bolts. Director Shane Black.
Yep, who's not a very seasoned director if you looked into it. His previous film also featured Robert Downey Jr. His last movie he directed, which was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And that was all the way back in 2005, which is a film I love.
Oh, yeah.
It is a perfect send-up of film noir in the detective story. Yeah, I love that film.
That is the film that actually sort of reintroduced me, as it were, to Val Kilmer.
And Val Kilmer's excellent in it as well. But yeah, I love that. Oh, it's so dark and so witty. Check that one out if you haven't.
Well, it has a couple of lines that you find people just latch onto, like look up the definition of idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find? A picture of me. No, the definition of the word idiot, which you fucking are. Yeah. Plenty of those little lines that just build up the film, and it's
Yeah, I love it. But anyway, yeah, Shane Black, director.
The budget was $200 million, and as of the 19th of May, it has made $1,073,273,000. That is worldwide.
Okay, yeah. Because I think it only did like 70-some million, right? It's
opening weekend. I think,
yeah. It wasn't domestic.
It wasn't huge, but it is now the 16th film to ever make more than $1 billion at the box office.
Okay.
Which by no means the film to make the most at the box office, but still, I like the fact that an Iron Man film, a comic book film, on top of I'd like to think Batman had, but I don't remember the figures and everything for that. I'd like to think that also made it up there. So
more than likely, yeah.
Alright, well, the cast list.
I'm
not even going to bother with Tony Stark. We've covered that
RDJ,
already.
We know that. Yeah.
Alright, Pepper Potts, we have Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes.
I must say, I'm actually not too familiar with her outside of this role. I know I've seen her in things, but with a lot of actresses, I'm not very good at looking at a film and being like, oh, that's Gwyneth Paltrow. It's like, so, oh, that's that person, yeah.
Well, I've always had an odd fascination with her. I don't know, I had a huge crush on her when I was like a freshman in college. I don't know why, but I don't know. Something attracted me. So, but I don't know. But yeah, fair enough. I like her. Named her kid a dumb name, but whatever. Apple.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it her that's Apple? Is it her and the lead singer of
Cole? Yes. Which I don't like. I don't approve of that choice either. But whatever.
Yeah, shows how with it and together I am with all of that gossip. I don't know. I know it's a band leader. I just don't know which.
All right. So moving on down.
James Rose. We have Don Cheadle returning again.
And I still say I prefer Terrence Howard's Rhodey over Don Cheadle's.
Yeah, definitely. I got nothing against Don Cheadle.
No. I mean, like, I love Don Cheadle's performances. He's always solid, but I liked Terrence Howard in that first movie.
Well, maybe it was because that's who we were introduced to as a character. And
I just like Terrence Howard, and I think he's a highly underrated actor, and he needs to be in more stuff.
Definitely.
But, I don't know. Maybe that's his choice. Who knows? Anyway, he's not in the movie.
We have as Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau,
Johnny
the director
Favs.
of 1 and 2. Which I actually didn't know, because Iron Man was one of those.
You didn't know he directed Iron Man?
I knew that Jon Favreau directed Iron Man. I didn't know that he was Jon Favreau.
Oh, the guy in the film. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you are not. You don't celebrate his entire catalog like I do with Swingers and Maid and.
No. Okay. Yeah, Jon Favreau is not a name I grew up watching the film.
But your Will Ferrell issues, prevent you.
Yeah, I think we covered that. Yeah.
Yes.
I cannot.
For shame.
I cannot put Elf down as a bad film. I just don't.
But that was his first big direct. Like the one that reached a lot of people. Elf, was
I think
Jon
you mentioned
Favreau
that at the time. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Aldrich Killian, Guy Pearce.
Always turns in a great villain performance, Guy Pearce.
Yeah, and definitely a very good role for him. I still think my favourite role of his is Memento. I don't think anything can, for me, beat that.
Not Count of Monte Cristo?
No, not the Count of Monte Cristo.
I enjoyed that. Are you saying that was a bad film?
No, I have nothing against the film.
Okay.
Just, probably wouldn't rewatch it.
Oh, right then.
Alright, and the last one I have on the list is the Mandarin, or to use his proper name, Trevor Slattery. Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley, yes. Gandhi himself.
Yeah, obviously this is going into spoiler territory again straight away, but a fantastic idea. I don't want to get into that just yet. I do understand that a lot of people were pissed off at what they did with it just because of how the Mandarin is in the comics and then what they ended up doing in the film.
Let's dive into that in just a minute. I had a couple more on my cast list that I wanted to
that's fine.
mention.
I just wanted to say, Ben Kingsley, this makes up for his role as the Hood in the Thunderbirds film, I think.
No comment on that at all, because I don't know anything about it to comment on it.
No, basically they fucked off everyone, because in that live-action Thunderbirds film, not only did they make it 55 years before the TV show was, despite ending off at the beginning of the TV show, they gave the Hood the power to fly.
So it was like a Michael Bay movie. He just said, fuck the source material. I'm making whatever I want to do.
Pretty much. It had so much promise, and they changed so much about so many of the characters that it was just, screw it. Nope, that's it. I'm out. Yeah, I wish I'd walked out, but anyway.
Okay.
All right, carry on.
So, yeah, I had a couple others I wanted to mention. The charming Rebecca Hall as Maya Hansen.
Yeah.
Watch The Town if you haven't. She's incredible in that. I just love that film. I will watch that over and over and over. Great movie. And, spoiler here, but it was a little... I mean, I gotta say, I saw it coming. The double-crossing femme fatale.
Oh, no.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you... I mean, but it's a cliche, and I was kind of disappointed in that. Like, okay, like, am I supposed to be shocked that she's screwing over Tony Stark here? But anyway.
Well, I had the thing, like, this film followed another one of the cliches of the fall and re-rise of the character.
Yeah.
And it follows pretty much every single other fall and re-rise of a character. And I thought, if they'd have maybe made it another big fall at the end and just have him be, like, actually humble at the end, like, you know, really have not much, rather than he's lost something, but nothing really too substantial, and we'll get to that.
Alright, and I also had James Badgedale, who is you're probably going to be seeing more of. He plays Savin. I think I'm saying that right? So yeah, Savin.
Sure.
Yeah, Savin. You know, yeah, the bald guy.
It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but most notable, he was in the HBO miniseries The Pacific as Lieutenant Bob Leckie or Colonel, whatever his rank was. But fantastic miniseries by HBO, who did Band of Brothers about, you know, World War II and obviously the Pacific Theater. But he was in that and was really, really good. And, of course, I just have to give a brief mention to Paul Bettany as Jarvis.
Yeah.
You can't leave out Jarvis.
No, definitely one of my favorite roles of Paul Bettany, I think, is Jarvis.
Yeah. So that was the end of my cast list. I just wanted to bring up those few extras. I don't know. Let's see. What should we dive into? You mentioned the Mandarin, the whole thing with the Mandarin. So yeah, when I was making my show notes here, I started off with problems, and not to say I have a good sized list. That's not to say I didn't enjoy the film, because I did. But
well, you can have problems with the best of films.
Well, exactly. But you know, it makes for more interesting talk than this was great. This was great. This was also great. That was interesting. Yeah. No, but I thought I wrote down the Mandarin reveal. All the, you know, what I mean by that, and if you saw the film, you know what I mean. I thought it was too comical. Like, I understand the comedy's place in the Iron Man films. Like, I really appreciate that, and that's actually in, like, my good list or whatever. But it seemed like it was getting into the Mike Myers territory a little bit for a second. Like, it was Love Guru-ish. It was a little...
I see that.
You see, where Trevor or whatever was just being, like a goofball. And
I will say I was really, really hoping for about 20 minutes there where they were still haven't fully divulged everything, that persona that Tony Stark runs into was still the Mandarin, and he was acting to get out of it, and even acting for his captors, and he actually did have a big behind the scenes role that maybe only, I've forgotten his name again, Aldrich knew.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't completely quash that.
See, I think it would have been far more interesting if the Mandarin was real. I think that's much more frightening. There's this guy that's not afraid to go on TV, not afraid to execute someone live. I think that is much more terrifying than an actor putting in a performance. Yeah. And Guy Pearce pulling the strings.
Yeah. Well, that is the biggest problem, though, because let's say that they did that. Some people might argue that is maybe too dark for Iron Man. I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either.
I know it would have
I think fans have shown they can handle it with the Nolan films of Batman. They can handle dark, they can handle gritty, they can handle people dying.
Well, yes, but you have that against the Batman character, the brooding Batman.
Yes, he's the Dark Knight. Yes, that's how it was intended to be when it was written. Yeah.
Whereas Iron Man, Tony Stark is this.
He's a lot more playboyish, vibrant, selfish, egotistical,
which is the way that the films were going, and so I can understand why they didn't end up going with the real Mandarin, even though in the comics he is the most formidable foe that Iron Man has ever faced.
So, I didn't really care for that.
I do have a thought that maybe rather than that scene playing out that it had, he should have stayed in his Mandarin persona for the initial confrontation, and then when he realizes that Tony Stark might actually kill him or something like that, then he snaps, and so it becomes much more of a psychological thing. You might even be able to pull it out longer. Like, okay, is this an act? Is this not?
Yeah.
So they could have done that scene better. They also could have done that specific plot bit better.
Yeah, I mean, if Guy Pearce is investing this, so much into this ruse of the Mandarin, he's going to have a guy that just folds like a paper napkin, at the second of pressure, or they're going to let him just fool around with a couple girls in bed and not keep a tighter leash on him, and just let him run amok when he's not playing the Mandarin. No, they're going to keep a closer watch on him than that.
Especially with earlier in the film when they have him turn up for the recording, and he's got he comes from outside of the mansion. He issues these direct instructions to not look at the Mandarin and to everyone around. And then in the same castle where you do see a whole bunch of guards and everything around, he just has his room by himself somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. So, they don't say how he got Trevor, did they? I mean, was it Craigslist or something? Was there an ad for a terrorist role needed?
Basically, he says it is kind of a one-line joke punch thing where he says that they found him a down-and-out drug-addicted actor.
That's right, yes.
And
so memorable, apparently.
And Tony Stark said, they promised to get you off the drugs, and his response is, no, they gave me more.
Oh, yes, that's right. So, enough on Trevor.
All right. Well, on a similar note, I will say then, my first thing that I wrote down was that the trailer did not show even half of this film. Thank fuck for that. Finally,
well, that'd be a very long trailer. That'd be a 45
No, I know. I do not mean literally. But it is not a trailer that gives you two key shots from the end of the film that give away most of the plot. No hint of the fact that this Mandarin could possibly not be the Mandarin. No hint of what the actual backstory is or what's actually going on. It does appear to just be this terrorist is blowing things up, and at the end he's going to
ruining Tony Stark's life. Yeah.
And it's a trailer which is how I wish all trailers were. Because anyone that is even remotely familiar with how films work can figure out most of a film just from the trailer, which is why I try to avoid
I avoided
them.
Dark Knight Rises trailers like a plague. I would not watch those. Yeah.
And this one just did it fantastically.
Yeah.
I thought.
You're showing a football field blow up. Oh, I wonder when we see a stadium, what's going to happen? Yeah.
The first stadium that looks remotely like a big populated football stadium.
I bet this is going to go boom. Yeah. But I love trailers, and I also hate them for doing that. But
it's a necessary evil, I suppose you could say, because we need them to tell us when films are coming and what films are coming, but we don't want them because they give away what's happening in the film. So, more trailers like this, please, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, do you have anything?
I have plenty, yes. I'll go through my problems list here some more. The very first thing I wrote down was actually, I think Iron Man turned into a little bit too much of a Superman type hero.
Yeah.
He's virtually indestructible in this movie. And, one of his, no matter what happens, one of his 200 suits is going to catch him. And, hello, that's still metal. That's still going to hurt if you're falling.
Yeah.
And you land into titanium. And then you crash into the ground on Earth. You're going to be a little sore, maybe dead.
Yeah, maybe he'd actually inject himself with extremists.
I don't think, does he have tiny little, I can't even think of it, whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean, airbags. There we go. That complicated word. Yeah, little airbags in there. But I mean, I never felt like he was in any real danger. And I know mostly these movies, or these hero-type movies, they're, for the most part, going to get out of it all right.
Yeah, well, they have to.
But you still have those moments where you feel like, oh, well, maybe not. Something may go down here.
Maybe someone might actually do something that has never been done before.
Maybe they'll make a horrible choice here and kill him. But you have that moment where you're like, oh, you're actually kind of worried for the character. I never felt that. I felt, oh, he's going to be fine. Even when his house was getting blown up, I'm like, oh, he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a little not vulnerable enough, even though that they tried to show that through his attachment with Pepper. Yeah. That was his vulnerability. But so a little issue with that. Too many damn mentions of New York. We get it.
Yeah.
Was it a commercial for? Was it a 2-hour commercial for Avengers? They mentioned New York probably 15 times in that.
Yeah, I think
like
so.
New York, and where
almost
are the other
everyone
Avengers?
that ran into
and that
it
kid
wanted to know,
mentioning
yeah.
it, and then I keep thinking about New York and New York and New York. Yes, we get it. We saw the Avengers. That's why anyone that's seen Iron Man 3, I guarantee you 98% of them have seen the Avengers. Somewhere around that, I bet. But I don't know. I was like, why are they constantly mentioning New York?
Yeah.
Did you think it was a bit much?
It did seem a little on the nose.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is supposed to have taken place after the Avengers.
Yeah. They're talking about the wormhole. They're talking about aliens and...
which I will say, I mentioned this to you beforehand, they have him having a bit of a mental breakdown, and a couple of times it's, how did I get out of that wormhole? Or the kid asking him directly, like, how did you get out of the wormhole?
Yeah.
And my response to that is, it's a two-way wormhole. It's very clearly pointed out that it's a two-way wormhole. And yet, despite the fact that he was able to get out, and he's still having a mental breakdown. It's like, how did I get out of that wormhole? Like, what? Everything that happened. It's like, no. It's very obvious you were going to get out of that, with the exception of, would you get out before it closed? He got out. So, problem solved, surely. No. Like, how did I get out? Oh, no, it's such an issue. It's like, that. I was shocked that was his biggest issue. It was... Obviously, it folded then into him saying, I had to protect the one thing that I can't live without, and that's you. But that was one line. Mm-hmm. The rest of it was just, how did I get out of the wormhole? How did that happen? Yeah. It's like, no, focus more on the Pepper thing.
Yeah, I don't know why you needed to have panic attacks. Yeah, I don't need to see Tony Stark on Zoloft, but...
Yeah.
I don't know.
And did they... It might just be it was a little while since I've seen it, but did they ever fully address him fixing that mental issue? Or was it just because he... spoiler, was able to fix himself at the end.
I think
the mental
that
issue just went away.
Yeah, it's kind of just sweep it under the rug. It's fine. Yeah, that's the impression I got at least. But,
and I did actually write down on here, on that note, if it was so easy for him to fix himself, why the hell did he wait so long, given that he has a portable version of the power source? He's made several of them. So what's the problem? I then realised, obviously, he used the MacGuffin to heal himself. I've forgotten the actual name, but MacGuffin works just as well. To heal himself once he sorted Pepper out. But still, all that it was just removing the shards of glass. So he could have done that in 3 hours of surgery, or shards of metal. Yeah. An actual real-life surgeon could probably do that not too difficultly, as long as he has the x-rays or whatever, he knows where he's going.
I don't know what was the hold-up on that whole surgery, but maybe his insurance wasn't going through, or I don't know. Because Tony Stark can't afford to pay out of pocket, we know. No. But...
I know that it then led to, how are we going to have a new Iron Man film if he's no longer technically Iron Man? He doesn't have the glowing chest.
Yeah, that's the iconic image.
But
he'll have it there for aesthetics. Yeah. Put it back in. For just, I'll just have a light in my chest.
The next film will start, he's just going somewhere and there's another explosion and he looks, oh, not again! Where did I leave it?
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. I brought up Batman a couple times, as I do, I think, every podcast, probably.
Well, you got
to annoyance. But a couple things I wrote down in the problems. They're not huge things, but they did remind me, the second I saw them, or the second I realized they were going to happen, of Batman issues. The kind of cliched thing, and Batman, I won't say originated this. I can't think of other examples. It's just the most recent in my mind. Of, we have two people we need to save, but only time to do one. You know what I mean? Yeah. But Batman didn't have 200 iron suits to help out. So you know what I mean, with Rachel Dawes and Harvey Dent. Yeah. I mean, which one am I going to save? Yeah, so I was like, well, I guess they're a fan of The Dark Knight. The writers,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and then the other thing, I was like, the figurehead villain type move, or the stand-in villain, Batman Begins. Once again. Yeah. Someone playing the villain and someone else pulling the strings.
Yeah, it's definitely...
Yeah, so I was like, that wasn't in another Batman film. I don't know what
I think the biggest problem is that it's a comic book cliche, that everything is not always as it seems, and that the hero must not be able to do everything. even though he can in this one. But
yeah, I just don't think you need to shy away from a straight up bad guy, bad villain. I can take that straight on. If you make him interesting and have a nice backstory or whatever, it's...
Yeah, well, I don't
need some trick.
There was one in Iron Man 2 and Iron
Mickey
Man
Rourke,
1.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Maybe they didn't want to be too samey.
I guess not.
Too original, you know.
Yeah. One of the other things just slight little thing, I would have liked a little more Guy Pearce. It didn't seem like his scenes were a little few and far between. I know he's the villain, and I know it's Tony Stark's story, or Iron Man's story, but I don't know, I think he was a little underutilized.
Yeah.
You get an actor of that caliber, I want to see a little more of him.
Yeah, I guess the biggest problem is going to be, technically Ben Kingsley is an actor on a much higher caliber.
Yeah.
And he's barely in it.
Yeah, well, Ben Kingsley, he's old and he'll do anything.
Well,
so.
yeah.
He doesn't care, he's just having fun.
Yeah, which fair enough, I think.
And my last little gripe, I think, is I would have liked a little more backstory on the Extremis program.
Right.
That just seemed like that was kind of glossed over and kind of, this is okay, we get really hot. We get really hot, and somehow our vessels don't boil, or blood vessels still stay intact, even though I can push my finger through solid objects, and I don't understand what was going on there. Still don't. I've thought about it, and I'm like, They seemed like almost alien-like. It's just, like, how are you and then Pepper is still one of them at the, we'll figure it out. Yeah. Tony's like, I'll crunch some numbers, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. It's another one of those things of, he solved the problem in 2000 when he was drunk.
Yeah.
And so now that he's sober, he can't figure it out. Surely he would have been able to figure it out instantly being sober. I know the idea is that he's just a smart drunk because he is sober and whatever, but still, I think that was a little.
I don't know. Yeah. And was anyone supposed to think that Pepper Potts died when she fell? Because I was like,
no, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, why?
Yeah, waiting for it. Waiting.
Yeah. Oh, she was in stage 2 of the Extremis program or whatever.
They waited way too long for that as well. It got to the point where I figured out, well, she's going to come back, and then I kind of
it was so long. I'm
gone.
Like, wait, did they actually come? I'm like, because that was a really vague way to do it. Because I was expecting her to come back. Oh, here she is. Better late than never, Pepper.
I'd sort of forgotten that she, quote unquote, died at that point. Because it's another 20 minutes of fighting at this point. So it's like you've forgotten that she'd even gone by the time she comes back, and it's like, oh yeah, we were supposed to think you were dead.
I didn't buy it for a second, and I didn't buy it for 20 minutes either. Was I supposed to slowly talk myself into that she was dead? I don't know.
It's like, oh no, they haven't featured her. 5 minutes from now, she must be dead. Yeah, because no one has ever seen any film ever where someone was supposed to be dead and turns out they weren't. Yeah, that's another completely original storyline, I think. And I will say at this point, we are sort of dissing the film, pointing out the comments, far as I'm aware, we both actually quite like this film.
Yeah. I just wanted to, even though the good list I have is very short, but it's kind of all inclusive. That's why. That's it. As always in these films, terrific, amazing action sequences.
Yeah.
Really dynamic. Really, obviously all computer mostly, but just looks great. Yeah. And I was never bored with the action.
Even with all of those suits at the end, they found different ways of getting to and bringing in each one.
Even though I thought that was kind of a little ridiculous, the number of them, and how it's like, okay, go over to this suit, go over to that suit, but this suit's fine in this way, and it was still a good-looking scene. It looked great.
I do like how they sort of work it in that there's no way you can possibly be shocked by the number of them, because when he's remote controlling the one, and she said, what is it, Mark number 10? And he looks and it said Mark 42. And it's like, yep. So, right then, I just thought, this is just, he's updating these suits. I didn't think, this is his 42nd suit. And then at the end, it was like, okay. And I think a couple of people I was around in the cinema did sort of go wow, how did you just manage? Did you? It was only an hour and a half ago. In giant on the screen, Mark 42. It can't really be that shocking to you that there are 42 or whatever suits. But yeah, that was a little over the top.
But yeah, I mean, and then of course Robert Downey Jr. I think can, at least I'll speak for myself, can at this point I'll say can do no wrong. He's just ever since, I mean, clean and sober is the way to go, obviously, for him. Yeah, because he's just hitting them out of the park, and it seems like he brings this to a lot of his roles, but especially the Iron Man role, Tony Stark role, that just great intellect, but great wit and humor, and just very aware and very on the nose with things, and it always plays well. And that's how part of the reason I said I can't imagine another Tony Stark. Yeah, because it would be an imitation, I think, of Robert Downey Jr.'s performance.
Yeah, it's the same thing of they can probably, even if they say redo Batman again in 10 years, they probably, if they did the Joker, everyone will just say no. Like Heath Ledger was definitive. Probably because of the fact that he then died, and it's like it sort of became this big last role thing. On top of the fact that it's just a fantastic performance.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and I really like what he does, and he's also smart enough to be able to lampoon himself, like, say, in Tropic Thunder, where he plays an over-the-top version of an actor who is a method actor who goes to extreme length to stay in character.
You're pretty brave when you do blackface in this day and age. That's, whoa, yeah.
And in that film, they do show that he does know, like, this is his process, but he's also very smart at what he does. He knows the craft. So, yeah, I think whatever he's got going for him now, just as long as he doesn't end up doing, I don't know, The Raven. Maybe that would have gone well with Robert Downey Jr. I don't know, but then again, it might have ended up just being a rehash of Sherlock.
Yeah, it's already in Netflix, which worries me enough. I'm like, how bored do I need to be to watch this? I got 100 other things ahead of it. But
don't watch it.
Yeah, and one other thing I wanted to mention that could have gone into the issues I had list, but luckily did not, because a lot of times it is a problem I have with films. Right. The voiceover, which you helped answer a question at the beginning of this podcast, because whenever you hear a voiceover, you think, well, who are they speaking to? It takes me out of it, unless they are actually talking to a friend, or they're telling their grandkid a story by the fire. Yeah. You get that little scene at the beginning of, like, Princess Bride or Forrest Gump, whatever, where he's on the park bench, and now we're going to go into the movie, and we're going to see the scenes played out that he's talking about. Yeah. But other than that, it's like, who are you talking to? Are you dead and you're talking to God, or or you're just sitting up in the clouds and looking down on all this? Yeah. And so I'm always trying to figure that out when I hear a voiceover, and it does take me out of it, what's going on a little bit. Yeah. But you answered that, so he's talking to a doctor. But I did write a word for word here. It's like, unlike Blade Runner, Iron Man 3 is better with the voiceover. And just for the record, Deckard is a replicant, so let's get that out of the way. We're done with it. Deckard is a replicant. No, all right, yeah. Don't want to hear anything else. But, yeah, I don't know. If for anyone out there, one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time, but it's much better without the voiceover. But I think, because it wasn't in the other two films, and I started, I'm like, okay, voiceover, Tony Stark's voice, but I thought it played really well. I thought it worked, and it moved the action along, and it helped with the story. Yeah, definitely. It was a very good way of sort of starting off the film. I thought it was one of those things. The thing about demons and all, Yeah, and it did give you, because obviously the voiceover is supposed to set the scene, as it were, and then they integrate that, but I thought it was a good way of putting people on the same page, because you get people that will analyze a film when it comes out, and they'll say, oh, well, this scene clearly meant this. And there's so many different ways that you can take things, like how a person is feeling, what that does mean. And then this actually ended up answering that at the beginning by saying, this is actually about the demon plaguing him. This isn't just like, him just trying to push Pepper away or something. Yeah. This is actually about what he's just told me it's about. So I thought that was a really good way of doing that. And also, it might also just be a fuck you to everyone that wants to overanalyze the film. It's like, nope, this is it. I think it was a calculated risk, because a lot of times voiceover sounds like a good idea and it just goes wrong, and it's like, why am I needing to hear exactly what I'm seeing on screen? It's like a lot. It's like, and then I said, and then it goes, and then the actor's actually saying the words on screen, and it's like, why is this here? But It played well. Do you have anything else to add on Iron Man?
I
guess we should get to our ratings if you would like.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to bring up quickly was I wanted to know where you would place this in the trilogy.
In the trilogy, second behind one. One is still my favorite, even though I'm hearing people saying this is the best.
I think this was the best mix. Like this, I think this sort of had the mix of the action with the comedy, with some of the stuff and some of the dialogue. I think it worked better, but Iron Man 1 is still the better film. Even though Iron Man 1 may not have had the mix right, it was still a fantastically told story and brilliant characters, brilliant performances, and it was the film that sucked you into Iron Man, and now you're just sort of watching him go off. So the other films might not have that appeal.
Yeah, I was going to say, I will fully admit to a bias towards origin stories or firsts in sets of or movies that have sequels. For what you were kind of saying there is that, you see the character evolve. You see them start from nothing or wherever they are and then turn into something. Yeah. And that next film, they're already that something. And it's just a new set of problems. Yeah. So I really, even though that being said, a sequel truly has to be amazing to top the original, much like The Dark Knight. Sorry to keep bringing that up, but Dark Knight is an overall better film than Batman Begins.
Yeah, it's almost a definitive thing of, this is how you do a sequel better than the original, and unfortunately, it mostly was just the acting of Heath Ledger that kind of really pressed that one.
Yeah, not to discredit anyone else's roles in that, but he was the all-star of that, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, but mostly, my roommate will vouch for this, that I will crap on sequels and always go by the original. Like, Rocky, I prefer over any of the sequels, Even though everyone's like, oh, Rocky 4, he's in Russia fighting the tall Russian guy, Yeah, it's goofy and comical, but it's the 80s and it's the Cold War and it's, silly. Yeah. But, I like those origin stories. I like seeing a character evolve. And I still, in that first movie, Iron Man, talking of, I still think really, really good. I love seeing him become Iron Man. Yeah. And the choice at the end, the ego of Tony Stark, just to say, the screw it. Yeah, I'm Iron Man. I'm not going to cover, do this cover story. So I don't know. Would you like to go first on the rating?
Sure. Well, my rating is probably going to be, I think, a -1.
Wow.
I'm going to go for -1 just because of a couple of the things that you said, like the cons with the film, and I had a couple of just sort of little nitpicks that I had where they seem to be going for just the one laugh joke. For instance, one of the biggest laughs in the film when I saw it was Iron Man talking to Jarvis, and Jarvis said, I'm pretty much up to par, but every now and again I finish a sentence with the wrong strawberry. And everyone laughs at that, and then he's fine. That problem only exists for that one sentence.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to happen again. But
I thought, given how that goes out, because he then said another sentence, which is fine. He then said another sentence, which is where the villain is, and Tony Stark does say, oh, that must have been wrong, tell me, and it turns out, no, that's right. It would have been better if he got the second one wrong again, and then the third one was still Miami, and that's why Tony Stark said, oh, it's clearly wrong. Not just because he got it wrong once, then he gets it right, and then he gets it right, but Tony Stark thinks it's wrong. It should have been wrong, right for that to really play, and it was just...
Did you write that down at home, folks? Because I did not, and I'm thoroughly lost.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, right, wrong, right. A, B, B, C. Up, down.
Yeah.
Left, right.
Yeah, well, the people at home can rewind.
So, that's true. All right. Hit your 15-second back button on your iPhones and your iPods. A couple times there. Yeah, so -1 for you.
Again, that is not saying it's a bad film by any means, because obviously that's not that far off for zero.
And once again, we're kind of going on a 0 perfect to around -10 being utterly crap. Yeah. And then beyond for utterly crap, we can give really ludicrous negative numbers if we feel like it.
Yeah,
if another Dread movie comes out.
Just to clarify, yes, we have sort of retooled it, because when the Dread film came out, we were saying, like, 0 to -20, and we did realize that's
we needed to amend it for that film. Like, -10 isn't enough.
0 to -10 is roughly what we're going to go with now, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to come in at a -2.5 on this one.
I see.
I'm still going to give it a strong recommendation. I'm still probably going to buy this thing on Blu-ray, even though I don't have 2. 2 fell a little flat for me. And I'm not a completionist on that much. I don't have to have it. I want to be able to watch it if I'm going to have it. And feel the need to watch it sometime. Iron Man 2, I don't feel I ever need to watch again.
Well, I would say wait till the box set.
Unless I'm doing a marathon weekend or something.
Well, there'll be that, and also, when the box set comes out, there'll be a couple of extras.
Yeah, that they held back some dailies or whatever. Yeah, production diaries, who knows. But, so I still give it a strong recommend. I still think it's a really good film. I just, for some of the problems I listed, kind of took away from it, and... I thought the finale was a little ludicrous. Even though it looked great, I thought it was a little over the top, even for an Iron Man film.
The last half hour of that film seemed very much, shit, we need to finish this.
Let's start blowing up the suits. Which looked great. Don't get me wrong. It was nice little fireworks.
Oh, thank you. That reminds me of one other little thing. Pepper's wearing the arm from one of the suits.
Oh, yeah.
Why did that not blow off her arm?
I
Everything
don't know.
else explodes and not that one arm piece.
And then he goes, you've got an arm off. Roll credits. Yeah.
You've got an arm off. And then you see, and it grows back.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so...
Yes,
enough. I do not have a Netflix recommendation this week. Just, it's designed to be like a sleeper pick, and I just don't feel I found anything worthy of mentioning. Paul, I think you have something written down.
Well, I didn't watch a film on Netflix that would cover this, so I am, again, and this is mostly aimed at the American audience, I'm going to recommend an old British television show, and it's The Vicar of Dibley, which is the one that I...
The who, not, and what now?
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
The
Vicar of Dibley?
Yes, The Vicar of Dibley. And I will clarify again there, because I told some people at work about this, and their response was, what's a vicar? A vicar is basically a priest, but it's a priest.
What's a Dibley?
A priest that lives in a
Is it a vicar named
parish.
Dibley?
No, the Dibley is the town.
Oh, of course.
And the idea is this town loses their vicar during a service, actually. Like, he kind of falls asleep during the middle of a song, and you realise he's actually... he's gone. And so this quaint little backwards town in the country gets their new vicar, which turns out to be a woman. And this is a town where almost everyone in it stereotypically would be very, very against a woman vicar. Okay. This was back when women vicars were only just being introduced by the Protestant church. I don't think the Catholic Church has caught on, ignorant of some religion here, so I don't know how many female Catholic priests there are. I'm just going to guess 0. And it's the trials and tribulations that she goes through with these somewhat comical town characters. It ran for...
I was just going to ask, one series or...
It ran
2?
For 3 series of 6 episodes each,
okay,
and a couple of
the
specials.
Standard British 6 episode.
So I think it's about 25-something episodes that they've got there. It's a good chunk of television. It was one of the best comedies at the time it was on, and starring a couple of people that are now just kind of British staples.
Right. So if you're lacking in your vicar-infused entertainment, this is the way to go.
Yeah. Okay. Father said last time, Vicar Dibley this time. I promise I will stay away from taking the piss out of religion next time.
All right. So I just think that's almost going to wrap it up for us. I did want to mention one quick thing here.
Yes, please do.
Want to plug a new show friend of ours, hopefully a new show friend of ours, John Hopefully he deems us worthy. No, goes by the name John Papa Giorgio, and he...
that is his real name.
It is. Fantastic. And he has a podcast called Papa's Basement, and you can get that on iTunes. His website is www.inpapasbasement.com. PAPAS.
Right,
and and not pop or whatever. You got it. So it's real life issues, discussions, in-depth talks, a lot of humor, a lot of seriousness, but done lightheartedly most of the time.
Yeah.
But there are serious issues discussed and intelligently comedically.
Right.
It's a good listen. I've only listened to one episode so far, but I'm looking forward to listening to more.
Me too.
And my longtime friend Allison Frank makes frequent appearances on there, and she's a very insightful, very witty person, and also very enjoyable to hear. So check out Papa's Basement if you need a little break from people droning on about film. Some interesting stuff, and so I said my piece on that, and hopefully you enjoy that, folks.
Well, yes, I'm sure they will. I mean, it, as you say, it's supposed to be a slightly funny take on general people's problems, like serious talking, but with the humor that I think those problems deserve.
And those two people naturally bring out. So
definitely sounds like something that I've been lacking on. I
definitely worth it. I've been looking for something to fill in my podcast slots when I can't find Douglas movies. So,
well, I think you've just found it, sir.
I think so. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up on my end. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything else.
All right, no button on this one, folks. You can leave during the credits.
Yeah, I'll just quickly shove it in. Shows how much I pay attention to this. Yeah. Twitter @BlokeBusters, fairly easy to remember that. Facebook.com/.
Like us on Facebook, please.
BlokeBusters, once again. If you want to contact us, then we've got 2 email addresses. Either one will work. contact@blokebusters.me, and then we've also got Blokebuster Podcast,
no S,
@gmail.com. So either one works. Any feedback whatsoever is very much appreciated, and
like us on Facebook, please.
Could even get you on the show.
That's right. All right, I've been Brian,
and I've been Paul.
We'll see you next time, folks.
Bye.